Welcome to your favorite drive-in theater and a sparkling new season. Watch our screen and local newspapers for all the fine shows coming this way. Show after show will feature the latest hits, the biggest stars for fun-filled, pleasure-packed evenings. Relax, come as you are, and spend an enjoyable night out with the entire family. No parking problems, no babysitting problems. And there are always tasty snacks at our modern refreshment stand. Thanks, folks. And once again, welcome back.
The moment our fellow geeks, dweebs, nerds, and other unfortunates have been fervently waiting for has finally arrived. It's time for TMI. Confessionals of the Nerd Kind. And now, your hosts, Jeff Nerf Herder Chandler, Jim Kaiju Baker, and Christina Yojimbo Henry. You can continue. And now, let's get on with the show. Here is TMI.
Right, that's what most of them say, is that this thing just scares you to the core.
Well, yeah, how could it not? You would have no, concept of what you are looking at.
That's true.
Your brain wouldn't be able to process it.
Yeah. So should we actually get into this? Should we do this?
Yes, let's get into this.
All right. Okay. So cut all that out, because every week we just start with Bigfoot now.
Yeah, no.
This guy is heavily on my mind lately. I've become very one-tracked. Yeah. Maybe I should start a podcast or something.
Maybe you should. Bigfoot's getting a massive resurgence lately. It's like in his 70s heyday. Well, his heyday was in the 70s. You couldn't deny Bigfoot in the 70s.
But now there's 1,000 podcasts and everybody has encounters with this thing and they know he's out there. I was listening to one the other day in which the guy kept referring to, the famous footage of the Bigfoot in Washington, and it's Patterson, Gimlin are the two gentlemen who filmed it.
There was two guys?
There was two, yeah. Patterson, Gimlin is the footage, Patterson and then Gimlin. But this guy kept referring to Gimlin as Gilman, and it was driving me nuts. I'm like, you're on a Bigfoot podcast.
Now you know how Christina feels when she listens
whenever we butcher
to our episodes. Yeah. But no, let's get back to that, because the famous footage, what you're speaking of, is the guy that was thrown from his horse, right? And
yes,
managed to grab his camera steadily and film the Bigfoot walking.
Well, it's not steadily. What you have to realize is that over the years, it's been stabilized. This footage has been analyzed and deconstructed to no end. I mean, 67? So it's 53 years old.
But what I'm getting at is that you're attributing this to two guys, but I always thought it was one guy on his horse that actually filmed the footage.
No, there was two guys, people. Right? There was one guy with the camera, but there's two gentlemen, and they were out there specifically looking for this creature. And there's a whole story leading up to that event, because there had been sightings and there had been footprints in the area, and that's why they were there. A lot of people think, staged. Guys have come out in the past. Oh, nope, that was me in the costume. But it's like I said, it's been torn apart, and no one can definitively say that it was faked.
And of course, we wouldn't have that iconic sideways glare from Bigfoot without that footage.
Who knew that was going to be Bigfoot's signature move? No, that's my worst side, man.
The side eye. Bigfoot does not like you filming him.
That's a female Sasquatch, by the way. They refer to her as Patty, I think, in honor of Patterson, who filmed her.
Oh, I see.
And that there was a male in the area as well. So once again, we are cryptid podcast here.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something you're interested in, Jim. We just constantly talking about Bigfoot.
Hey, I think we're going to cover that territory next week. So stay tuned. Before we get any further, this is our season premiere this episode.
Hey, season 4.
Season 4.
Wow.
We started this back in April of 2018.
Yeah, we're still around. We survived.
We are here.
Congratulations. Happy anniversary, Jim.
Yes, happy anniversary.
Yes, I didn't get you anything though. I'm sorry.
Every year it's the same. Not even a card. Not even a card.
I know. All right. So what are we talking about this week?
We are talking about a catalog film. We are not talking about a new one this week.
That's not a new movie.
But really, we kind of went backwards. Usually we take the main feature and try to figure out what would be a good co-feature for it. But I think we kind of worked the other way around this week. We had a co-feature first, and then we had to figure out what would be a good match. So
I don't know if we succeeded.
I don't know, but it was a good excuse.
It was a good excuse
to watch
at least the first movie.
Yeah.
So the second feature is a listener request, correct?
A long time coming listener request.
Yeah, he better be very excited that we're talking about this movie.
Prisoners of the Lost Universe.
I've never heard of this movie.
Because we discovered Tubi, I don't know what, like a year, maybe more than a year ago.
Yeah. Right before it was snatched up by Universe. Who bought that? Somebody bought
Fox,
it.
I think, or
yeah, and we were like, oh, here we go. But it's still free.
It's still free.
Full of crap movies like this.
But yeah, Christina's husband, Chris, I think this was the first thing that he discovered on Tubi.
like as soon as he found out his wife was on a podcast, he's like, you have to talk about this movie. And she said no, and now she's not on.
She's not on today. I should
so yes,
clarify.
Exactly. Yes. Once again, Christina is out. So while the cat is away, the mice will play. Christina, we have spared you from watching this movie again, from talking about this movie again, from thinking about this movie again. And you can skip this entire review and go right to our second feature. Oh no, the second feature is the movie.
Yeah,
I'm getting ahead of myself.
We haven't even mentioned what our main feature is going to be yet.
I'm confused already.
Not knowing the plot at the time of Prisoners of the Lost Universe, we only had the barest inclination of what this thing was going to be about. We assumed that it was some kind of a time travel movie. What better movie to pair with a time travel-esque plot than probably the most unsung time travel movie of the past 10 years or so, The Edge of Tomorrow.
Live, Die, Repeat.
Yeah, that's very confusing to me because
it is.
What is the title of this movie?
Yeah,
on the DVD that I have from the library,
the
Live, Die, Repeat is on the cover of the DVD.
Yes,
and Edge of Tomorrow is
like
in the
buried
smallest,
at the bottom,
tiniest letters on the bottom of the case.
From what I understand, the original title. Well, first of all, this is based on a novel, not even called either one of those. It's a novel. Hold on, now I got to go through my notes.
All You Need Is Kill.
There you go. All You Need Is Kill by Hiroshi Sakurazaka. But from what I understand, the title was and is Edge of Tomorrow. The tagline is Live, Die, Repeat. But what's happened in the marketing, and especially once it went out of theaters and onto the secondary markets with DVDs and Blu-rays, that took over. Like you said, that Blu-ray, that's what it says, Live, Die, Repeat.
Yeah.
And then Edge of Tomorrow is just this little buried subhead. So it is confusing.
But before we get into that, I think we're already well into our main feature. Do we have any news this week?
We do have some news, so let's go there. Mortal Kombat dropped this week, and we will not be talking about it. I am sorry to all of you who have reached out to me and said, why are you not talking Mortal Kombat? It was an executive decision by the entire staff. Mortal Kombat will not be discussed, sorry, unless we get really hard up for something. Okay, here we go. Mother of Dragons is invading the Marvel Universe. I don't know if you heard this, but Emilia Clarke has been cast in Marvel's new series, Secret Invasion. So there's a lot of speculation on who she may be playing, but that's pretty
that's big,
pretty solid casting, I think.
Yeah. I think Marvel's end game, to coin a phrase here, is to cast every living actor working today. Eventually,
I think probably when they set this movie in motion, there's this whole Marvel universe, cinematic universe, people were very reluctant. And then as they got bigger and bigger, now all of a sudden you start seeing these stars, these Anthony Hopkins and all these other guys going, maybe I should be a part of that. So
I'd like to dip my toe into the MCU.
Yeah, right. Wander the earth. Yes. We'll stay with the Marvel Universe for a little bit, which is James Gunn just dropped on his Twitter account the title to an upcoming Guardians of the Galaxy entitled Holiday Special.
Now, this is going to be on Disney Plus, correct?
Yeah, this was confusing because initially I thought this was now the script for Guardians 3, and it's not the case. This is a standalone holiday special that's going to drop after Thor Love and Thunder and somehow tie in Guardians 2 and then the upcoming Guardians 3.
While at the same time being a holiday special.
Yes, to which Mark Hamill immediately responded, I have a bad feeling about this. And I thought, he is so on.
But in its defense, this is not just some chic, ironic take on the badness of the holiday special. James Gunn has gone on record to say, as a kid, he loved the original 1978 holiday special. And like us...
Did you immediately send him the link to our review?
I did not, but it was almost like he was mirroring our thoughts, because he said, hey, in 1978, this was the only Star Wars I had, and I embraced it. I completely embraced it. Especially, he said, the Boba Fett part, to quantify a little bit, but he said he loved the whole thing. And so as did we.
Oh man, I hope. Do you think there's going to be like musical cues? That would be great if he just redid the whole Star Wars holiday.
Who could
special,
he actually hire? That would be the counterpart today of B. Arthur or Harvey Korman.
Oprah Winfrey.
That's too big of a name. It's got to be somebody on the DC level.
Oh man,
we have to think about that to give him some suggestions.
I hope that there's an animated breakaway,
and I hope it's filmed on video, like the original. Yeah,
complete with commercials.
Yes,
for Tobor, robot backwards.
Yeah. Or the Peanut Snoopy snow cone machine.
Scott Pilgrim, which we have also reviewed and absolutely
as a five bucket.
Damn
no
straight. This movie that really kind of came out of the gates. What was it? 20 years ago now, and it did not do well in the theaters, but it has grown into a mass cult following. And as of April 30th, is going to get a 1 week only re-release in theaters under the Dolby Vision. And Edgar Wright has worked exclusively with the theater Dolby and to reissue this.
And I will never forget when we actually did talk about Scott Pilgrim. Doing the research there, I read one quote on opening weekend. Edgar Wright, of course, is looking at the numbers and underwhelmed at what he was seeing. And one of the producers, who was very on the nose, told him not to worry, because he said, with this movie, it'll take years, not weeks.
That was very prescient.
Yes, and it is true.
They said the same thing to the guy who filmed the Flintstones Viva Rock Vegas. So, listen.
The B-52s are still waiting for their residual checks.
I bet you they do get, yeah. And that might have been the only good part about them. So my final news item, and you're going to love this one, Jim. Vin Diesel is not only set to star, but to produce a movie based on Mattel's Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
We've already had that, and it's called Real Steel.
I was waiting for. All right, you ready? This is Mattel and Universal and Vin Diesel are all in on this, and I want to just read to you. Here we go. This is the description of this movie in a nutshell. Ryan Engel wrote the screenplay, which follows a father and son who form an unlikely bond with an advanced war machine.
And that's
it. It is Real Steel.
It is.
Why even bother? You've always Real Steel. We need to talk about, because I think it.
We do. Talk about unsung movies.
Yes, I absolutely adore that movie. My entire family adores that movie. But you do love to point out the fact that it's Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
Yeah.
So I find this interesting because everyone now wants to create, this quote unquote Marvel Cinematic Universe with their own properties. So did we not get word that they were going to make a Monopoly movie?
Yes, I did hear that.
Candyland? So are these all going to tie in together? Like, is Barbie going to show up and go through all these lands?
You know, it would be a boring movie. Would be Life.
That would be the most boring it's just real-time picture of you sitting in the theater.
Yeah, or actually just driving my car from doctor to insurance or whatever you do in the game of life.
The game of life. Oh, bills to pay.
Yeah. Risk would be good. Risk would be a good movie.
Risk, Stratego.
Yeah.
Hot Wheels, I guess, maybe. Well, Cars, we already got that. So yeah, I don't know what they're thinking with this. You got you got two robots. You got the Red Rocker and you got the Blue Bomber, and that's it. And they just punch each other. But the father-son aspect.
Maybe somebody should make them aware that real steel exists.
And I think we should do that. It's a lawsuit. I don't know who's going to sue who, but there may be a lawsuit in here somewhere. So yeah, well, that's another movie we won't be watching.
Unless we use it as an excuse to talk about real steel.
That is true. We can pair it up. All right, get on that, Vin Diesel. In between your Fast and Furious 18 movies. And that's all the news I have.
Wait. I've got something. Okay. In the outrageous category.
Oh, I'm outraged already.
I've gotten wind of some rumors and rumblings that Disney Plus is considering a Firefly reboot.
I did see that.
Now, reboot is the optimal term here.
Yeah.
It is not going to involve any of the original actors or characters. So this would be a brand new take.
Well, let me ask you this. Are the rumors that Joss Whedon is attached in any way, shape, or form?
Well, he would need to be, in the very least, as created by or executive producer. I don't think he's actually going to be. Yes, exactly. I don't think he would actually be involved.
But that's a byline. That's semantics. If he's not involved, I don't want to.
I don't see how he can be involved in anything from this point on.
That's true. Well, I guess we'll never be talking about Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog either.
Yeah,
high on my creative list. So, well, I guess I'm kind of excited for that. No, not really. No. It's all unsubstantiated, right?
A lion's share of the appeal of Firefly is the cast.
Yeah. Alan Tudyk's too busy now. He's got other things going on. He's got too many robots and aliens to play.
And how can you do it without Mal, without Nathan Fillion?
They all went on to big stings.
Yeah.
We'll watch the original 12 episodes.
All right. And the movie Serenity.
That is true, which we do need to do a solid Firefly episode.
Yes, we do.
Nothing but the TV show and the movie. Make that happen. Make it so. Number one. All right, cool. News out then.
News out.
Let's get into this Groundhog Day with aliens.
Now,
or do you want to call it?
Do you think that this was probably the pitch? Groundhog Day, but like with aliens and war.
Hell yeah. It's Saving Private Ryan with mech suits.
Because every couple of years we get like a Groundhog Day type scenario, like be it in sci-fi or comedy or what have you. But Groundhog Day really is like
was groundbreaking.
The Platonic archetype of like this type of movie. And yes, groundbreaking and deserved of our 5-bucket category,
That's right.
Which it is in.
Yes. Much to the chagrin of some of my friends who have turned them onto it. They're like, it's the same thing over and over again. I'm like, that's the point.
That's the point, yes.
That's the point.
So now, Edge of Tomorrow. Now, over the years, a lot of people have issues with Tom Cruise. So there's a lot of people out there that are biased against Tom Cruise movies. I think especially now that he's getting older and it's some movies like it does seem like you're going through the action movie tropes. I'm not a big fan of the Mission Impossible movies myself.
I have nothing but the utmost respect for the man because he brings 200% to everything.
But no, I'm not saying I don't like him. I do like him. But, just sometimes it's like the action movie hero thing gets a bit much. And that's why I love this so much. That's why I love Edge of Tomorrow, because he sets expectations on its ear with this. He is not playing this type of character that you are used to seeing from Tom Cruise, and he does it very well.
No, and I think that the director, Doug Liman, came on board and said exactly that, which is this is unlike any character that Tom Cruise has played because he doesn't know what he's doing.
And he's a coward.
He's right.
But he does grow into the role of hero as the movie goes on.
But that's even the Groundhog Day, the template of Bill Murray's character is that he's not a likable character. And he has to come to realize that in order for him to move on, he needs to humanize himself. This guy just needs to avoid aliens.
So he plays a character by the name of Major William Case. So he is a major and he is in the military.
Not for long, though. He gets demoted pretty quick.
Yes, he does. but it's more or less like a decoration. He's not like a real battle-scarred major. He's only there for PR purposes because he says at one point that he was in insurance, right? Wasn't he an insurance
something
salesman?
like that. Yeah. And you see up front, which I don't remember. This was 2014 when this came out, and I have seen it a number of times. I did not see it in the theater. I know that for a fact.
No, I didn't either. I saw it,
but I don't remember that whole opening montage of the news screens of the meteorites coming down, and he's basically, a talking head on Fox News or whatever you want to refer to it. I did read that the one shot of him, it was reused footage from war games. The war room was like superimposed behind him, and I'm just like, that's kind of cool. But
and I read that you probably did too, that he filmed all these talking head shots in Doug Liman's editing room.
Yeah, well, they go by so quick. They're just a little, like you said, he's a talking head. He's
and he's there, I think, just to put a positive spin, like in the public perception on this war against the aliens. Not that you would need it, because it's not like it's not necessary. So you do, like you're talking about these like little bits of news footage that kind of fly by. So you're fed a little bit of information where you see a news report of a meteor hitting.
Yeah, that's real footage from, I think it was a meteorite strike in, I want to say in Russia somewhere.
So apparently the aliens, the antagonists of the movie, come to Earth on this meteor. And so from the meteor strike, they grow, build, they multiply.
Yeah,
start an
it's
invasion.
Never really laid out, and you don't see them either in any of this upfront footage.
You're not even told that that's what's going on. You kind of have to figure it out as the movie plays out.
Because the first time when they're on the battlefield and the beach, that's when you see them, and you're like, wow, these things are.
I know, and you're not really sure if these are completely organic, if they're mechanized in any way, because they look like they could be cyborg type creatures.
But they're cool. The design is very cool. Really neat. He was the Army, right?
He was Army.
But they've created this United Defense Force. So all the world's armies and militia have come together to fight this thing. And he's in London. And then we're introduced to his superior, the general that was running this
Brigham.
General Mad-Eye Moody.
Mad-Eye Moody. And I will always remember him as the Rage Virus Eye from 28 Days Later, because he's the guy that gets the blood in his eye and goes nuts within seconds. Brendan Gleeson as General Brigham.
And he's chewing up some scenery in here.
He definitely is. And he has a grudge of some type against Major William Cage.
Well, like you said, because he probably actually earned his title. He busted his butt on the beach and, worked his way up. And this hotshot punk kid, because Tom Cruise never ages. I mean, the 4K, you can see some crow's feet or whatever, but no, the man just doesn't age.
Yeah, I don't know if he bathes in the blood of, of sacrificed animals or what, but you're correct. He does not age.
So, as you said, he comes right out and he says to this general that, he's a wuss. I can't stand the sight of blood, not even a paper cut. And I don't know what, but the general demotes him.
Not quite, because here's how the scene plays out. Because he gets called to London because you see him after that montage of newsreel footage. You see him wake up on a helicopter and he's flying to this general's office in London, and he doesn't know what he's being called for. So the general sits him down and says that he is going to be on the front. It's like the storming of Normandy, Normandy beach, right?
You know how bizarre that is? This movie was actually released on the actual D-Day.
Really?
It was released June 6th, 2014, D-Day.
This is a very Normandy-esque scenario that's going to happen. The next morning that Tom Cruise is sitting in this general's office, the Allies are going to storm France, and because they've got a leg up over the aliens, or so they think.
Yeah.
And they are going to sweep through Europe and clean it up. And this is going to be their storming victory, the beginning of their victory. And the general, seeing as William Cage is a talking head who is selling the war to the rest of the world, he wants Cage to be on the front line filming this victory.
Yeah. They want him to be their Captain America.
Yeah.
Lead the way, lead the charge.
And Cage is not having any of it, because he tells the general, and you can see him, this is Cruise at his best, I think, acting wise. You can see him squirming, panicking in the seat as he's realizing what the general is ordering him to do, to be on the front lines, and he has no business being on the front lines because he said, I'm an insurance guy. And then, I don't know if he was recruited or if he signed up, but he signed up as an office paperwork
I'll
only.
join your army.
I've got no experience. I'm not battle ready. And he's like, and that's why you will be on the beach. And Brigham is telling him, you're going to tell this to your grandchildren, and he's actually painting a very heroic picture. But Cage, it gets to the point where Cage tries to run from the office.
Right. And he gets arrested.
He literally runs, and before trying to blackmail the general, and he says something to the effect, I can make it seem very bad for you. If all these heroes die on the beach, I could make the public think it's your fault. And Brigham does not take lightly to that blackmail threat. He has him arrested, and then he demotes him to private.
Yeah. So Cage is not the best representation of our military forces at this point.
No, he is not.
No.
He is not. But we haven't yet talked about Emily Blunt's character, who's just kind of in the background at this point. She is known as the Angel of Verdun because the military has come up with these mecha suits, these mechanized. They're kind of like streamlined versions of the big robotic lifter that Ripley was wearing.
Yes, these are like Aliens. Exoskeleton mech suits.
Yes.
And I will give these actors credit because these things were 85 pounds normally. And then once you put the armatures on them, upwards of 125 pounds. And yes, there's a lot of wire work going on here, but they were physically on their bodies carrying these things around, which just adds such a level of realisticness that when he's trudging, he's really trudging. You know how it's like to walk through the sand,
right?
That's bad enough. Now you got 85 pounds on your shoulders,
and it looks, and you're saying how they're trudging, it does look heavy. It looks like it's difficult to walk in these things, so they're selling it. They're really selling it.
I mean, by the time you get to the 300th reset and they're flying around or whatever, then it gets a little unrealistic because he's like really zipping. But this thing is about as tactile as you're going to get. There's a lot of stuff going on, and the DVD, the Blu-ray I had behind the scenes interview with Doug Lyman, and they were talking a lot about this training, that went in with these guys with these suits. And again, Cruise comes in weeks before filming to work this thing out with the special effects crew to make sure that they work, that what does this button do? He wants to know exactly what these things do, even though his character doesn't know at that point.
It's like Greatest American Hero in a way at the front. He doesn't even know how to take the safety off, and nobody tells him how to take the safety off.
As they're getting ready to airdrop. You mentioned Emily Blunt's character. They also refer to her as the Full Metal Bitch, which and she carries this. It's called a melee. It's a giant sword. It's right out of like Gundam Warriors. It's a anime. It's a giant sword, but she uses it because you realize pretty quickly when she's fighting these things, she runs out of ammo. So to have a sword that you can just hack through these things and not lose it or run out of bullets.
I had assumed that she had ripped that rotor off of a helicopter, and that's
basically what it like. It's so oversized. It's just like if you watch any anime, all these characters and these they carry these giant weapons, but she kills it.
But her character's name is Rita Rataski, Sergeant Rita Rataski, and she is like a mythical hero in the military because she took out what was like over 100 aliens by herself using one of these big weaponized suits.
Yeah, and there's that one scene where he first gets on base and her and her crew come walking out, and it's reverence. It's just these guys just stop and watch them as they walk by because she's got this aura about her that she's like this badass.
She's only glimpsed in the opening scenes of the movie while this is all happening to Cage. So she's only in the background. You see her on the side of the bus, but in the meantime, we're getting treated to Master Sergeant Farrell, played by Bill Paxton, who is just doubling down on the humiliation and and degradation of Tom Cruise's character, because Cruise wakes up, and this is the first of many times you see him wake up.
Yeah, this is the nexus point, I guess.
It's Heathrow Airport, and it's been turned into a military location.
But I'm talking about every time. So if you don't even know what the premise of this movie is, we've mentioned Groundhog Day, which is the fact that every time he dies, it resets the day. And this is where he comes back to, is waking up on the ground in front of the whole battalion.
Right.
On your feet, maggot. Mm-hmm. Which we hear numerous times. Yes. So, and then we're introduced to Farrell, played by Bill Paxton. Yeah. And he has been, I don't know if he was chosen or if he was taking this on as punishment, but he's the one that has to kind of assume William Cage into his J Squad. And I'm not sure if Paxton's character knows who Cruise is. I assume that he does, because everybody. He's still in his uniform, so he knows
but he's been stripped. Level. He's only in an unmarked military jacket. Right. So Paxton tells him that he is a private that has, or actually is a deserter that was trying to escape, which is true to some extent.
That is true from a certain point of view.
Yes. And that he is going to see battle on the front line. And at this point, I'm thinking you should have just taken the offer and been on the beach and filmed it, No,
he took the hard way out.
The hard way out. So Paxton brings him to the J Squad, right?
That's which is just this motley crew of a mishmash of soldiers and happenstance goofballs, colorful personalities.
They all do, and it's kind of like watching this. Talking about Paxton, it's kind of like watching his squad from Aliens.
Aliens, yeah.
These are soldiers that are going to be on the front lines, so they're expendable in a way.
Yeah, I think they all pretty much know that it's a one-way ticket.
But the thing is that Paxton, and we talked about Daniel Craig channeling Foghorn Leghorn. Paxton does a good job himself here. So Paxton introduces Cage as a deserter, and of course nobody likes him immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
But here's where I was getting a little frustrated with this. These guys are pretty much going to their deaths tomorrow, yet they are more interested in demeaning Cruise rather than being nervous about themselves. So it's they expend all their energy on humiliating Cruise while they are most likely going to die.
I'm pretty sure that would make me feel better.
Yeah.
Listen, dude. At least I'm not you.
Flash forward, he's on the drop vehicle. And again, this whole setup is very Aliens-esque. The setup is that these guys, they're not parachutists per se, because they have these huge, heavy suits on, but they're dropped out of this,
transport,
which look like, quadruple rotored helicopters, and by lines. So they drop them on lines. And as they get close to the ground, I guess the lines cut and then they fall the rest of the way. But as they are in the air, an alien shell or missile or what have you takes out the transport, and they all just drop immediately. So half of them die on the way down to the beach. Cruise, of course, survives.
But like you said, he before this happens, he's like, how do I take the safety off? Like he's ill prepared for this. And they're just laughing at him.
And they're still making fun of him as they're about to drop.
Yeah. But my favorite, and I don't even know what the character's name is, was the heavyset soldier that had the teddy bear duct tape to his the front of his suit.
That was in the mecha suit with just a jock strap.
Yes. Yeah. Listen, why bother getting dressed?
Flash down to the beach, and everybody's getting killed. So it's carnage.
This is where we first see these things, and like you said, they're just rolling masses of biomechanical tentacles. It goes by so quickly, like you don't even know what you're looking at first.
And they're bursting out of the beach itself. They're underground. Yeah. So, again, not only thinking of Aliens, but of Cruise's own War of the Worlds, because that was very reminiscent of that.
The ending reminded me of War of the Worlds. We'll get to that.
It's just carnage. You're not sure where to look, and it feels like, like the opening scene of Saving Private Ryan. It feels like you're on the beach. It feels like you're on the beach.
And you're seeing guys getting takeout left and right. Yeah, you're right.
I really felt like I was in his shoes. I'm like, I'd probably be acting the same way if I was in this situation.
I would just play dead. I'd just lay dead. I'd be like, oh, they got me. Oh, hopefully they'll keep going.
Cruise does eventually get killed. He's probably the last of the platoon. He does make it to the end, but he gets killed and he's taken out by what looks a little bit different than all the other aliens. It's much larger, and it's got a different physicality to it.
Yeah, and color.
So he figures out how to get his safety off, and he shoots it. But, he's killed in the same moment. And as this alien bleeds out on him, suddenly you see his face get all dark and his eyes black over, and whatever is oozing out of this alien is oozing all over him. And this is what kills him. But in the next instant, he wakes up again at Heathrow Airport. Same scene as we had just seen like 20 minutes ago. Plays out again. Get up, maggot. And then we're introduced to Paxton again, and he's trying to figure out what is going on. Was that just a nightmare? No. So what happened is that the alien's blood mixed with his DNA somehow and is causing this Groundhog Day effect. It's causing time to play out again.
Because the aliens have this ability. The aliens are able to reset their own day.
The particular alien, that particular
alien. Yes, I'm sorry, the Omegas. The Omega or the Alpha?
The Alpha. The
Alpha
Omega is the
big
brain.
One. So the aliens have this ability. So they knew that the humans were coming. That's why they were all buried in the beach. They thought that there was a sneak attack, but the aliens were like 2 steps ahead of them, because they probably relived that day 2 or 3 times. But that would mean that we won. Why would the aliens have to reset the day if they just take us all out? I don't know. There's other questions I have, but let's go. So it resets, and you see the exact same scenario play out again. And we're a little bit farther ahead in, with Cruise's character, because he's trying to figure out what the hell's going on. And is this the one where he tries to escape by rolling underneath the truck when he's doing push-ups?
I think that's the next one.
Okay, but anyways, we go right back down the beach again. The ship. He's yelling at them. This is going to happen. This is going to. They know we're coming, and they duct tape him.
Right.
They duct tape him, but he gets shot down to he's on the beach again, and sure enough, he gets killed, and boom, immediately he wakes back up.
When you're seeing the beach scene play out again and again, he's doing things differently each time. Like he saves the one big guy who gets crushed by the falling transport.
Yes. Yeah.
But nothing ever seems to work. And we didn't mention that on that first morning on the beach, he does run into Emily Blunt. He sees her character, and she gets distracted by him and is killed because she's staring at him. He keeps seeing her on the beach. He says to her that, we did this yesterday, or however it is that he puts it. And she realizes that what is happening to him is the same thing that happened to her.
Yeah. So she says, find me when you wake up. So you're immediately like, wait a minute. So she knows what's going on with him. So sure enough, he the next day, he, resets and he finds her. I want to know how many times she was doing that plank, because every time he shows up, she's training, and she's in a full-on, I don't know what you want to call it. It's not lotus, but she's a full-on plank. It's just her hands on the ground, and her body is completely straight across. And I'm like, did she have to do that every time they did a new take? Because that's a hard-ass core right there. I immediately wrote that this has to be a continuity editor's nightmare.
Oh.
But I did see it won a Saturn Award for Best Editing, and rightfully so. Because it gets fast and frantic, and you start seeing, so like you said, she reveals to him that she has this ability as well. And that's how she was able to kind of create this aura of awesomeness around her, that she kept reliving the same day. So she was able to do the same thing that he's doing, which is learn. 2 steps to your left, take a right. Nope, this guy's going to come over here. You go over there. The editing, the cutting, but you never lose focus. You never stop and say, wait a minute, where are we again? Like it's so powerful the way that this is put together.
It moves like a banshee. This thing never stops, and you are completely engaged throughout. Arguably, it slows down before they find the helicopter towards the end, because then you get a breather at least.
Yeah, that does, right. But up until that point, these the training montages where she's now training him that he needs to learn to use the mech to his abilities, and he's just getting throttled. And at one point he falls down. He's like, I think I have a problem. I think I broke my back. All I can feel is my lips. And she's like, oh, well, we'll start again. And she just shoots him.
So this begs the question, talking about not looking at things too closely, especially something like this. What happens in her timeline after she shoots him in the head?
Yes. Does she just go to jail for killing an officer?
And does that timeline continue on?
Because when he rolls underneath the truck and he gets run over trying to escape, Bill Paxton's character literally says, oh, son, what were you thinking? So either Tom Cruise wasn't quite dead yet, or he's now dead, but their timeline still goes on. So does every time he resets, is it an alternate timeline?
Well, he had to be dead or he wouldn't reset, because was the thing.
Maybe he died right after the guy said that.
Yeah, because
you know what I'm saying?
Ratajkowski's, she says that she lost the ability because she was allowed to live through one of these days that she was resetting. If you survive past the day, for some reason, you have to die during the day in order to keep resetting and resetting and resetting. So she keeps saying, if you live past the day, you're going to lose this, and we have to figure this out before that happens.
Right. Otherwise, there's multiple versions of himself running around in the same timeline, which doesn't make any sense.
And we're also introduced when he finally does find her. You do go through the days and days of training that he goes through. And it's a very unfriendly training. This is a serious training facility. It's like, this will kill you if you are not up to snuff in this training facility.
It does multiple times.
Yeah, it does. But we're introduced to Noah Carter, who is played by Noah Taylor, and I love this guy. In any movie that this guy shows up in, I always call Ben Mendelsohn the poor man's Noah Taylor. And I'm so happy whenever he shows up in a movie. So he is like this scientist that everybody thinks is crazy, and he believes Emily Blunt's character that this happened to her, when he calls them the Alpha and the Omega. The Alphas are like 1 in a million aliens that are just a step above the warrior aliens, and they have the ability to reset the time. And the Omegas control them and the warriors. And if you take out this Omega, which is hidden somewhere, then you take it's like
a hive mentality.
Yeah, it's like killing the head vampire. Then you can kill off all the other vampires.
And the one thing we didn't mention, the aliens are referred to as mimics, I think is what they refer to them as.
Yes.
At one point, she says that she probably relived a day 300 times, because she talks about this guy Hendrix gets brought up, and she says, I watched him die 300 times. No matter what I could do, I couldn't save him. So you can only imagine that he's at least 300, probably more, in reliving this day, because it takes them a fairly long time, because each day they only get a couple more inches on the beach. Once the two of them are synchronized and they're trying to figure out how to advance and how to get past, they have to get off the beach. That's the number one. They have to get off the beach. And you see, especially like you said, when they're with the Noah, they've got this, ground map, and they've got everything timed out. They know exactly where these mimics are coming from and when this one's going to show up, or when this. And there's a couple really nice, again, it's the same thing over and over, but it's always slightly different. And he's almost like walking through a video game, because he knows what's going to happen. And so there's that guy that I saved last time, but it didn't really help me. So I'm going to let the transport just fall on him this time. He just kind of turns and looks and then advances. He's, this guy takes a step back. And it's so well done. And when watching that special with Lyman, he didn't even have a script ready when they started this. Most of it was conceptual paintings and designs in storyboards.
It's insane.
And he's out there on the beach, and you see him with his special effects, the stunt coordinator, and he's like, oh, what if he comes up and he does this, and then he jumps over here. And the stunt guy's like, you're not taking notes? Like this, because it is all so well choreographed, and it has to read together, especially in a movie like this where I can rewatch it endlessly.
It's done so well, you kind of lose sight of the fact that, because to you, it's an ongoing narrative with Tom Cruise's character. You lose the fact that he's starting from scratch every single day, because you're seeing his evolution.
Right.
Throughout.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The movie would be what, 200 hours long if we had to read.
But you got to appreciate it, because to you, he's moving forward, but everybody else around him is not. They don't know him
No,
because you're thinking to yourself, okay, Emily Blunt by this time, but because you're only watching them through the course of one day. So by the end of the day, she knows him well, but then the next time you see her, she doesn't know him anymore. He has to reintroduce himself.
Yeah. And you know, and that running joke as well, which is like, do I have something on my face, soldier? What are you looking at?
Yeah.
You know, and so now he has to come and say, listen, I know who you are. I know your middle name. I know what you've been going through. I'm going through the same thing. We need to do this.
And the way that they make this a complete narrative and have it keep moving along without seemingly going backwards is brilliant.
To that extent, that's where it kind of deviates a little from Groundhog Day, which you see Bill Murray's character go into the diner and introduce himself to the girl behind the counter. Now he knows that she, you know, is giving piano lessons or whatever, and that she has a daughter. Or you skip all that. Yeah. But there are points where he's like, you know, when he's trying to convince, they now realize what they need to do is get to this dam where this Omega is, or where they think it is, and he has to go and convince the what is it, J Crew, the J Crew, J Squad to go with him. And they're like, you're a deserter, like, because they're right back to the beginning. They don't know who he is. You know, they just introduced him as a deserter. He's like, I know what your name is. Your name is not Ford. You took it from your brother. And he's just, you know, I know your third grade teacher's name and all this stuff. So he does all that homework, but we are privy to it until he just dumps it on them.
Right. And so what we haven't really talked about yet either is that not only is he resetting the day because the alien bled all over him, but he's also getting visions. And that's how he thinks that the Omega, because he's supposedly tied telepathically now to the Omega. So he gets a vision of the Omega in a dam, in an empty building in Germany. So that's why they have to get off the beach. They have to make it to this dam to kill the Omega. But it turns out to be a false vision because the Omega is aware of Tom Cruise.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you're doing. Yeah, I'm over here. Come over here. I will say the scene where they make it to the trailer park and she has to steal the truck. And they got to get out. She's getting in this car in full mech suit. I'm like, how is that even possible? I'm like, I can't even get into the car with a wallet in my pocket. I feel like I'm sitting on a bowling ball.
And that scene was frustrating because the last thing he says to her, don't forget to disconnect the caravan. And what does she do? I forgot to disconnect.
Oh, that big thing attached to the back of the truck.
You mean that thing I told you 2 seconds ago?
Right.
You forgot.
Yeah. Don't worry. I'll tell you again tomorrow when we relive this day. And that was the one cheat shot. There's a scene where the two of them are in the car driving, and it's so obvious that they're just sitting on a set and the green screen is blowing behind them. And I'm like, this is the fakest scene in the entire movie. Like them in a car,
like watching the birds with Tippi Hedren.
Yes. They spent all their money on all this realistic stuff. It's like, we can't afford a real car. So, but this is. You're right. It does slow down. It does. I don't know if I guess it's just because the pacing. You got to start catching your breath now.
And you have to. The third act. I think you have to. Yeah, you got to slow down.
Right. So this is where he wants to. You know, they've made it farther than we've ever seen them. Up to this point, it's been just, we need to get off the beach. But then you realize pretty quickly that they have been there before, but this is the first time we're seeing it. And they find this abandoned farmhouse, and you get this little bit of a downtime. He's trying to talk to her because he now knows her. He's relived this day thousands of times, I'm guessing. So he knows very intimate details about her, where she's still at the point where I don't even know who you are. You know, and he's like, well, you told me your middle name was this and you did that. And she's like, well, do you think I just told you that, you know, to keep you quiet? But they have this nice moment because he knows what kind of she wants coffee and how many sugars she takes. But then you find out there's a helicopter. And she's like, let's go. Let's take the helicopter. And he's like, no, you stay here. And this is where you find out that no matter what he does, he can't save her past this point. She dies every time. So now she is becoming like her Hendrix.
Right.
I could only get you so far into the day every time we get to this point.
Then he discovers that it's a false vision. So now after the false vision, there's a great scene where they actually try to go back to Brendan Gleeson's office to convince him of what is happening. So they sneak into the office without having her recognized, which is a great sequence. He's like, okay, hide your face now. Now I'm going to, this guy always recognizes you. You're going to walk to the right of me.
So once again, they've done this numerous times, but this is the first time we're actually watching it through. So you're right. You're seeing the culmination of probably 50, 60, 70 times of trying to get to this point. Doesn't this guy sleep? Like if you immediately wake up, like you just got to start going. At what point you just wake up and you're like, I'm not doing it today. I'm just going to lay right here.
Well, he does that actually. He deserts on one of the mornings.
Oh, that's right. He goes to the bar, the pub.
Yeah,
that's right. Boy, I long for the day you can just sit at a pub and drink a nice cold pint or two. Oh no, they're that cold in London, are they? They're warm. They serve the beer warm. Get with the times, people.
But they go to Gleason's office because he's got whatever, like the doctor, that device that the doctor had made. So, and they're trying to get him to hand it over to them, and he does. So you think that Gleason believes them, but then as they leave the office, and they're like, what do we do now? Because we've got the thing. I don't know. We never made it this far.
We've never made it this far.
But apparently Gleason still calls the cops on him. Was that just like fake that he was believing them?
Well,
and then
yeah, sure. Give them what they want. Get him out of your office. He's probably got a little panic button on the underside of his desk.
True. Right.
That's all it takes.
But this is how Cruz loses the ability to reset the day, because they get into a car accident when they're trying to escape the office, and he wakes up in a hospital. They've given him a blood transfusion.
Yep. So that's it. Now it's gone.
Now it's gone.
They've muted him.
But not before he figures out where the Omega really is. And it is deep, deep, deep under the Louvre.
Were these aliens like art enthusiasts? Like, why would they pick the Louvre or the Louvre?
Let's pick a very well-known tourist attraction and bury ourselves under that.
Yes.
So this is the point where he actually gets out of the hospital and goes to the J Squad, and they believe him because, of course, as you were saying, he knows all about them. Yes. So he wins them over, and they all desert. So, and then there's a great scene where Paxton, like, where's my J Squad? They all go to the Louvre and they have their final battle. They all die, unfortunately. The J Squad all die.
Yeah, they're expendables. And what was the thing that he had to inject into his leg? Was it like a transponder or something?
Well, that's the thing that Gleason had in his office, right? That's what they were after. I don't know. I really don't know what that was.
Is it just a MacGuffin?
It was the COVID vaccination.
so he's immune.
Yeah.
But died from aliens.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what that did.
Was it the Johnson & Johnson?
Yeah. I'd have to watch it again. It's the one and done. It was the one and done.
So yes, poor J Squad.
Poor J Squad. But, Tom Cruise does win the day, unfortunately, because I was like, wouldn't it be great if Emily Blunt was the hero? Because that's who she is, right?
That is who she is.
If he died but no, I guess the ending wouldn't make sense if that was the case, because again, when he kills the Omega, you see the blood mix into him again.
Even though he's underwater. That was the War of the Worlds scene, because when in War of the Worlds, when he gets sucked up in one of those walking alien thingies, at one point he has a whole bunch of grenades. He basically jumps and he just has the pins in his hand and then blows up, and that's exactly what he does here.
Rotowski could have done that.
Yeah, any one of them could have.
Any one of them, and then it could have bled all over her. So in a way, Tom Cruise does get the hero ending, so you don't subvert too much what his normal action hero type character is.
No, but the interesting thing is, so in this reset, he doesn't go back to where he's been going from the beginning, which is he's already been demoted and he's now on the barracks. This one cuts back to him the first time we see him sleeping on the helicopter.
So this is a big, big head scratcher, because it's not explained why it suddenly goes back 2 days.
Right.
And not only does it go back 2 days, but it's like an alternate timeline that he's entered into. So he's already defeated the Omega before he's defeated the Omega.
Yeah, because as soon as he gets up, they're like, oh, well, guess what? There was a big energy surge and there's no more aliens, so we're good. Right. But he remembers it, so he goes immediately to find Rita.
But he's still the same cage as he was before this all happened, because again, he wakes up on the helicopter. Yet how did he defeat the Omega in this time?
Yeah.
But I was reading that this was not the original ending, that I didn't see what exactly that they were planning, but apparently it wasn't as upbeat, the original ending that was being considered. And they figured that because they had interjected so much humor into the movie as it was going along in production, that it was really against the tone of it to have it end on a downer note. So they had to have a happy ending. So maybe they didn't really think it through all the way. Just
no, we got this far. You know what? You guys do the heavy lifting now. You figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, I will say that there's been a sequel in development for quite some time,
and it's still in development. It's not like it's been muted or anything.
Live, Die, Repeat is the working title. They should just call it Edge of Tomorrow Holiday Special.
Because Edge of Tomorrow, if you think about it, is a very general, bland kind of a title. You have no clue of what
Live, Die, Repeat says it all.
Edge of Tomorrow, that could be a romantic drama if you think about it.
I think it's a soap opera. My mom used to watch at 2:00. Yes, I will say that Lyman, I did a little bit. He worked in the Bourne franchise there for a while.
The first one, I think he directed the first Bourne movie.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which is also a really great action movie.
But he started with Swingers, which is a great indie comedy. He kind of transposed seemingly effortlessly.
Favreau directed that, or is just Favreau in it?
No, Favreau is in it, but he didn't direct it. Lyman directed it.
Gotcha.
But now he's like this huge action director, and competently so.
Yeah, maybe he'll be making something with Bob Odenkirk next.
Maybe he will. Maybe he will. You know, what's funny is that Cruise looked at all the different deaths of his character as similar to Wile E. Coyote in the Roadrunner cartoon.
Did he ever fall off a mountain into a little poof of smoke?
That would have been great. That
might have been like Mission Impossible. He never died in Mission Impossible. Has he ever died in his movies?
Has he ever? No, you can't kill him. This is Tom Cruise.
So
this is why I love this so much. It just goes beyond expectations of what you expect.
I've never died in a movie, so let me be killed like 1,000 times.
Yeah. Well, the studio actually approached Brad Pitt first. Can you imagine him in this?
Yeah, maybe. I do like Pitt. I don't know. There's something.
I don't know if he could play coward, though. I don't know if he could play coward. I wouldn't think that Cruise could either until I saw this. But
yeah, you know what's funny is that when I realized that he gains these powers by being covered in the blood of the alien, I'm like, Modern Problems, Chevy Chase's movie would have been a perfect pairing, where he got the psychic abilities from the toxic waste slopping out of the truck.
We're talking about this being an unsung film. The reason being is that it didn't do that well compared to its budget at the box office. It cost $178 million to make, which is a huge chunk.
Every bit of that is on screen, though.
Correct.
Every single dime, except for that car scene where they just cheated with the damn background.
But it only made $370 million at the box office. So it was seen as a disappointing performer when it was released.
I did like it. I'm very happy we watched it. And yes, I'm sorry it's not a new movie, but this is what's going to happen on this show. We're going to go down these paths and pick these other movies that we have yet to talk about.
A fun fact, in 2014, the Alliance of Women Film Journalists, they have an awards. And this was nominated for the most egregious age difference between two leads, because Tom Cruise at the time was 51 and Emily Blunt was 31. So
but there's nothing romantic. There's a one scene where they're training and she's talking about the fact that that she can't get the ability back. And he's like, well, have you tried everything? And he's implying that if they have sex, that maybe he'd be able to transfer some of it. And she goes, yeah, I've been down that road multiple times. He's like, how many? And she's like, it's none of your business.
Well, no, I got a really heavy sense of possible romance during that helicopter scene when he
but I think it was more on his end.
But it did win in another category for most kick-ass female award.
She does kick ass.
She does.
She does all of her own work in this as well. So.
And I love the character.
Solid movie right there.
Yeah. So what kind of buckets would we give?
I'm going 4 1/4.
Yeah, I think I would go solid 4 for Edge of Tomorrow. Yep, solid 4. I like it.
So if it was named Live, Die, Repeat, would you go higher?
You see, I don't like that title either.
We could just sit here all day coming up with alternate names. Dead Cruise Rising. Smarter minds than us have already gone down this road.
Yeah, that's why they paid the big bucks to writers. I guess.
I wouldn't even mind if they just kept the name of the book. All You Need Is Kill.
Perhaps.
Yes. That always brings me back to License Revoked.
The James Bond.
Yes.
John Gardner.
They didn't think that the American audience would know what revoked meant, so we changed it to License to Kill.
We are quite stupid, the American audience.
Apparently we are. We're told that every day. Speaking of stupid.
Excuse me as I dab the drool from the corners of my mouth.
I'm surprised that your computer is not short-circuited from all that drool. So speaking of stupid, let's move on to our second feature.
But let's go to the concession stand first. We're going to need sustenance to talk about this one.
Yeah, okay.
A snow cone, please.
Cut. What's with this snow cone bit? The word is water.
But I want a snow cone.
Now let's try it again. Now this time stick to the script.
Okay.
Action.
Water, please. So I get water. But where you are, you can get snow cones. Bring me one, will you please? Any flavor.
Okay, we're back, and we are talking Prisoners of the Lost Universe.
Why? Listen, to all you out there who know of this movie and love this movie, I give you credit. Now, this is my first exposure, so I'm not going to crap all over something.
Yeah, I didn't even know that this existed.
No.
And it just makes me think of the untapped wells of crap that are out there that we just haven't ever heard of before.
This is the Gloria Tubi, right? This is the gift that keeps on giving. If we can find stuff like this every week, just to talk about, I might be happy.
Now this is, I think, unique in itself in that it stars Richard Hatch, the star of Battlestar Galactica.
And this was 83, so this was after his Captain Apollo.
After, but this is apparently what the other half of the Battlestar Galactica team was doing as Dirk Benedict was reaching new heights as face on the A-Team. And Hatch is probably like, hey, man, I got a movie. You're on this TV show. I'm the lead in a major motion picture, buddy. Yeah. And boom, obscurity immediately. This is what I'm wondering, because, yes, we mentioned before that this is skewered by the Riff Tracks team. But like so many other movies that they cover, I'm wondering, was this ever even released in theaters? I don't recall this I
have no idea. No, I don't know. I didn't know anything about it. The most exciting thing of it is the movie poster. which it promises me something.
I know, which displays cities in ruin and on fire. I'm like, there's no city in this movie at all.
No. I will say my wife watched this with me.
The whole thing?
And she did. And here's the funny part, which was 5 minutes in, she points out that those jeans make his ass look really nice. And so then I spent the entire rest of the movie looking at his butt.
Hatch is not bad. He's actually funny in this movie when he's not berating the female lead.
He threatens to spank her.
In the beginning, yeah. So he does not ingratiate himself to the audience or to the female lead. But of course, she eventually falls in love with him anyway. Calls her lady for the whole entire beginning of the movie.
Well, he kind of reminds me of Kurt Russell's character in Overboard. You know, she's the host of this weird and wacky TV show. She's like a local celebrity, and he's just like this handyman. And it's supposed to take place in LA. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, then why were they driving on the other side of the road? They both had vehicles where they were driving in the right-hand side of the car. Bizarre. That was really weird right off the beginning. But we're introduced to her performing this trick where she a high B flat note will somehow subdue a cobra. And I'm like, this skill has got to come back in somewhere in this movie. This is a setup for her to like defeat the bad guy, and it never pays off whatsoever. No. There is never any reference whatsoever to a cobra or a snake or the ability to do this musical cue. I don't even know if that was a B flat that she was making. Although I did dig the soundtrack. I thought it was.
Yeah, and I always wondered to myself when watching a movie like this, is this actually music made for this movie, or have they taken it from another source?
Yeah, I don't know.
But this is from 1983 is when this was made. So this is when shows like That's Incredible, Ripley's Believe It or Not were all the rage. So this this woman who is Carrie Madison, her name is the host as Jeff was saying, of one of these shows called The Weird and the Wacky.
Wow, that's a show I want to watch. I probably would have watched it at
Probably,
83.
yeah. So she's on the way in the beginning of this movie to interview like a mad scientist type character.
Dr. Hartman, paging Dr. Hartman.
Dr. Hartman.
Dr. Hartman.
And yeah, she runs Richard Hatch, who's just like a handyman guy, off the road accidentally because there's tremors going on. And then that never plays up into this either.
There's no, right.
So yeah, you hear as she's driving to the doctor to interview him. So you're hearing these radio reports of all these tremors going on in the Los Angeles area. And as she's driving, a tremor happens, and that's why she runs Richard Hatch's truck off the road. She ran him over
because she was driving on the wrong side of the road. But they tell her boss tells her that the camera crew is running an hour late, so she has to go and just humor the doctor for an hour before she can actually interview him. Just show up an hour later.
Yeah, I know.
Don't go and bother him while he's working. I do want to point out the title credits were like so Super Friends. The opening credits were like very super friendly.
And they begin immediately. There's no
waste no time.
There's no studio logo or anything. It just bam, the movie starts.
They couldn't afford it. Couldn't afford it. No studio would attach their name to it, basically.
So again, she runs Richard Hatch off the road. He berates her for about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Again,
threatens to spank her. Yep.
Yeah, threatens to spank her, and she's like, "You wouldn't dare!" And he like advances on her, and then she runs away. And
you know who I am? I'm Captain Apollo.
And so she makes it to the good doctor's house, and he's a mad scientist because he has a white lab coat on when he answers the door. And so Richard Hatch can't fix his truck, and as a matter of fact, power lines fall down on his truck and cause it to explode. So he walks to the doctor's house himself, because apparently the doctor is right around the corner from where this accident happened. And he enters, and the doctor has leaned his way into his transport device, because the reason that she is there to interview him is that he has invented a transporter device. It'll open a gateway to another dimension. And very comically, when there's a tremor, leans forward.
This is full on Star Trek Enterprise, on the bridge. Everyone just leans to the left and leans to the right. He had no safety precautions whatsoever for this.
Absolutely not. No. So, and then he gets sucked into the other dimension himself. So she's there in his lab by herself. And then in comes Richard Hatch, again calling her lady. Oh, it's you. Just looking for help with his truck. And then he leans into in the same fashion as the doctor did, just bends over looking, and boom, it comes on. And then she does the same thing. So they're all in the other dimension.
Wouldn't they all have landed in the exact same spot?
They would have, but it's explained that time goes by differently. So when
they explained that? Because I don't remember.
You didn't remember that?
I don't remember that.
That time travels differently, because even though she went in a couple of seconds after Richard Hatch did, he's been there for a week. Been there.
You're right. Yes, you are correct. Okay, sorry.
And so because the doctor went in like 20 minutes before they did, he's been there for like a year.
For like a year. Right? Yeah. He's now got a family. He's like, cool.
So this other dimension just basically looks like the California desert.
I was going to say Utah, but yeah, you're right. It's just rocks. Every now and again, they would put a fake alien plant in the foreground just to give you the illusion that maybe they're on some foreign planet. They didn't even go to the extent of like spray painting the leaves purple or something. No.
Or even like a matte painting with some kind of alien landscape. No,
geez, you couldn't afford a matte painting. What was the budget on this?
Who knows? Who knows? And then finds Richard Hatch, and then also finds these alien guys with glowing red eyes, which was like a nice effect.
A Zulu tribe looking.
All covered in white paint with glowing red eyes. They chase them, and there's a mishap with a boulder off the side of a mountain.
He's like trying to push her up over the boulder. He's like, I got you. And then he just shoves his hand right into her buttocks. And I'm just like, what, dude, what are you doing?
Because they're trying to find Dr. Hartman now that they found each other, and Dan has told her that he's been there a week and she's only been there for a few minutes. They figure out the time goes by differently here in this land. And they're trying to find Dr. Hartman so they can figure out a way to get back home. And they run into a character by the name of Malachi. Not Malachi from Children of the Corn.
He who walks between the rows. This guy was actually in the movie Legend, by the way.
Was he? Who was he?
He was one of the little, I don't know. He had to have been one of the goblins.
Peter O'Farrell. was his
He kind of reminded me of Mr. Tumnus from
Oh
Witch in the Wardrobe.
yeah. You're right. And then there's the guy with the green skin, the Green Man.
Oh, I wrote him as a blue dude.
But that's the thing, is this movie has such poor production value. They describe him as the guy with the green skin, but by all accounts, what I was looking at looked blue-gray.
But this is where we find out that this is the planet Banya, which I guess doesn't.
And they speak Vanyan, which is a dead ringer for English.
Yes, that is amazing, by the way.
Yeah. So they end up running into John Saxon's character of Cleo because he has a gun. I don't know where he got the gun from, but apparently Hartman is making him gunpowder to use in the gun. So they've had this invention of a firearm and never known how to use it. So there's an attack with like a water beast at one point. Because...
Do you think that he could have warned her that there are water beasts in the water before she jumped in?
And so you think you're going to get a Sheena-esque bathing scene, but no, that's just a tease. That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And that was actually the water beast that she gets attacked by. Was a pretty impressive makeup job, I thought. And it frightened me when the guy jumps out of the water.
It's like Jason.
So it was effective in some ways. And John Saxon, you get introduced to him. So he is the bad guy, overlord, warlord of this world by the name of Cleo. And
is the guy that looks like Sean Connery?
Yes, he is. And so he is chewing up the scenery left and right. Kills, and I say that in quotes, Dan's character with his gun. And when he gets shot, when Richard Hatch gets shot, his arms go up in the air and he leaps backwards. So Carrie is abducted by John Saxon's character, who is completely impressed by her hair, which is the color of the sun.
There you go. Like I said, she's blonde. We've seen this play out before. But isn't this where like we see a sparkle tree or something going on? There's a tree that has sparkles.
Yeah, I don't
remember. I'm trying to remember if that even played back into there is a point where I just wrote, this is ponderous.
So once Cleo gets his hands on Carrie, now it's never really indicated whether or not he consummates this relationship with her or not. Because for a while, she's like his concubine and she's just like playing along with him until she can get rescued. So for the rest of the movie from this point, it's Dan who is not really killed when he was shot by Cleo.
We fooled you.
He assembles the team of the caveman, Malachi, and the green guy, or the green blue guy, the blue gray guy.
So he got his own A-team.
He is trying to rescue Carrie Madison from Cleo. So
yeah, there you go.
And that's basically it. So at one point he fights a character that looks like Goldust, the wrestler from the 90s.
I don't even know that reference, but I'll go with it. The guy in the diaper?
Yeah.
Okay. Goldust, huh?
We find Hartman. Hartman is acting as a sorcerer of sorts for Cleo. So he's really kind of acclimated himself to this new society. And he realizes if he hitches his wagon to Cleo, then he can rule hand in hand, right? So he's humoring Cleo himself.
He knew Dan. He never met Dan. Did he just assume because he had a flannel shirt on that he was from Earth? At this time, I was looking at cat memes on my wife's phone. My goodwill had gone right out the window.
Because it takes them an awful long time. Once Dan recovers and he assembles the team, it takes them a really long time to actually infiltrate. They do, and then they're captured. I'm like, oh,
that's because of the loud whispering. They're like, look, he's over there.
Yeah.
Shh, keep it down.
Because there is a nice sequence where they actually have to infiltrate under Cleo's fortress, and they run into a bunch of Morlocks or
yeah, basically for lack
zombies
of a better word.
From the Omega Man, I think is also what they were channeling.
Yeah.
So there's a fight scene between the gang and the Morlocks, which is pretty good, for a movie like this. I thought Dan actually infiltrates the inner sanctum and gets her out. Hartman has made all this nitroglycerin, so they grab some nitro, they use that to blow up Cleo's fortress.
Was
and this
that
is
the gunpowder that he was pouring out of the gunny sack? The endless gunny sack?
The endless gunny sack. I'm like, that's what I wrote.
It was magical.
Does he have more than one cask of gunpowder? Or is this the same?
That gunny sack just kept on giving.
It's like one of Yosemite Sam's, gunpowder
That's true.
trails.
And then it ends, but it's not even like a proper goodbye. It just,
I know they just end up going back to their time. You never see them back in their time. They just disappear. More actually happens than this. That is not worth our recounting to you.
There's some funny lines of dialogue, but
there is, I was lightly entertained by it. Even as I was looking at, what time it was and how much of this was eating my day up.
Exactly. It's like, wait a minute, I still got another 40 minutes.
Still, it was like, you're watching Richard Hatch and he is funny, he's competent.
You wish that he would have been able to go on and do a little bit more.
And obviously he's trying to channel like a kind of, irreverent hero kind of thing.
I think that's what to the universe.
Even though it was abusive, I think that's what they were attempting, that back and forth between Leia and Han in the original Star Wars, where they, obviously detest each other, but there is still that attraction going on.
Yeah, it's that moonlighting. Will they, won't they?
Talk about bucket proof. I don't know if this is beyond bucket. I would, if I was forced to give this a rating, I think I would go 2 buckets.
Look at this 2 as well.
2 as well. We can
now cross this. We can cross this off our list. Listen, it's free on Tubi. You might be more entertained by listening to the riff tracks.
Now I'm curious. Now I want to go and listen to the riff tracks. Now that we've talked about it.
There you go.
I don't know if we've done it justice.
I was not really able to find any like anecdotal things. The only thing I found was the fact that Hatch was sick during some of this filming, because his voice kind of changes. It sounds weird in some spots. Like sick, like he has a cold, or sick, like he's fighting like malaria, or yeah, well, that might make sense.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I could find absolutely nothing on this movie.
Because I wanted to know, where was this released? Was it even released in theaters? Maybe 42nd Street for a week. Who knows? Imagine your disappointment of going to pay for a movie and sitting down and watching this.
Sure, I've paid for movies that are worse than this.
Really?
Interstellar? No.
At least they had production value.
That is true. It was pretty to look at. All right, check it out yourself.
All right, 2 buckets. Prisoners of the Lost Universe, because there's more than one.
There's more than one movie?
More than one prisoner.
Oh, geez. Okay.
I felt like a prisoner of the Lost Universe. All right, so let's move on to Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Woo! This went by quick, huh? This is it.
It did.
This is it. Episode 6, One World, One People, which we've heard numerous times from Kari's factions.
Yes.
So at the end of last episode, Sam opens up the case, and apparently it is not Gwyneth Paltrow's head.
But it is a Wakandan-made Captain America suit, which comes with a new set of wings.
And multiple red wings.
And I like the fact the trail that you get from the wings is purple.
It's purple, yeah. Because you can't dismiss the vibranium.
No, you can't.
I will say this is probably one of the most screen accurate representations of a comic book costume. But having said that, it looks silly.
Too much? You think it's too much?
There's those close-up scenes where where he's preaching there toward the end. I couldn't take my eyes off. Like, how does this thing go on? How do you put it on? Because the goggles seem to be attached to the cowl that only goes up above his ears. Like his ears are exposed. And he's got the goggles, but then it's almost like like a Batman cowl that comes down around his neck and fills out the rest of the suit. And it just, I couldn't figure out, is there a zipper in the back? Does he need Bucky to help him put it on?
You can ask that about half the suits that you see in the MCU, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, it just, I think maybe because it's stark white up on top, that you can't not look at the seams. You know what I'm saying? Like Batman suit is dark, even everything that we've seen with, Captain America, the blues, except for I think the first Avengers, which was more like spandex. But it is spot on what he wears in the comic books.
And I appreciated the fact that they did keep the wings here as well.
Yeah,
because you're not robbing him of the Falcon.
No, I think that's exactly what makes him.
At the same time as making him Captain America, but it's his own now that he's got the wings, and they're vibranium wings, which is great. There's no breaking these off easily.
Yeah, Batroc or what's his name's not just ripping them off. Yeah. I do. So we do get multiple Red Wings, and I'm hoping that there's 3. There's a Red Wing, a White Wing, and a Blue Wing. And we just stick with the whole red, white, and blue theme.
But they're his. That's the other great thing, is now they're not government property anymore. So nobody's tracking him through Red Wing.
Yes. And we get this beautiful opening sequence where he's introduced, and he comes flying through the window or whatever. Very heroic, shields are flying or whatever. And at one point, someone asks him who he is or whatever, and he goes, "I'm Captain America." And the guy's like, "I thought Captain America was on the moon." I'm like, nice callback. That was a good callback.
That's the Umbrella Academy. Yeah.
But then he's fighting Batrocs. It's like, you've been Captain America for like 1 minute, and you're already disparaging. You're throwing out disparaging remarks about the French. He's like, "How about some baguettes and French fries?" And I'm like, all right, how about we just leave the quips alone here?
Yeah, for some reason, in cancel culture, in woke culture, and I hate that term, and I'm sorry for using it, but it's still okay to make fun of the French, even in today's culture.
They are woke proof.
Yeah,
because I think even when he leaves him, he goes, "Au revoir."
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Captain America. So yeah, this opens right up with Kari's group, the Flag Smashers, and they're trying to stop the GNC.
I think the GNC is that nutritional store that you see in malls pop up. It's the GRC.
GRC.
Yes.
The branding's too close.
It is
GRC.
too close. But yeah, so the Flag Smashers are kidnapping the GRC members. They're rounded up in trucks and kidnapped. I don't know where they got them from, but probably from Sharon. But they have these spider-like devices.
Yes.
It almost looked like with the thing that Spider-Man used to throw on trucks in the comic book to trace the bad guys.
The Spidey tracers.
Yeah, the Spidey tracers.
Yeah, but this seems to lock a locked door already.
So there's so many GRC members that there's 2 trucks worth that they use, and there's a helicopter for like the important GRC members that they're escaping because the lights go out during their meeting. And this is where the Flag Smashers have planned to kidnap them. So Sam goes after the helicopter.
You and I talked about this off air, which is the callback to Superman with Falcon chasing the helicopter down the side of the building, and especially over the waterways.
Yeah,
there's some very Superman vibes things going on here, and it's nice. It's for a TV show, they really do. The production value is pretty impressive.
So the opening of the episode is the reveal of Sam as the new Captain America and the rescuing of these hostages.
And he's openly calling himself Captain America.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, but we still have that other guy who's dressed like Captain America. But Carly realizes that, you know what, if we got to blow these people up, whatever. And they're all of a sudden her crew is like, wait a minute, this is not what we signed on for. You already blew up multiple buildings. But yeah, she does seem to be losing a little bit of ground as far as her backup group. And then John Walker steps in, and she's like, "Listen, I am really sorry about Lamar." She says something to the effect that he didn't matter, or I don't care about people who don't matter.
No, I'm sorry that I killed somebody that didn't matter. I think that's what the gist of what she said.
Then Walker loses his mind as well as he should, because that was not the right thing to say. So, and then that's a nice little sequence of fighting.
And then what's funny is just, I don't know what they're trying to do with Walker, because it almost seems like he has to convince himself to save the hostages. Like,
I kind of like that moment though. I don't want to just see him be a bad guy and be like, he's got to be like an ogre. He's got to have layers. He shouldn't even be there. He should be under house arrest for killing that guy in broad daylight.
Yeah.
We're just going to gloss over that. But Bucky does save him. Bucky does save him from a rebar going through the head.
This is true. And his homemade shield really gets cast aside almost immediately.
That's it does propel him when he sees the little medallion that he had soldered on the backside of it or whatever, gave him that little push. Because Lamar did believe in him. Yes. So you have to think that this guy is just not a complete moron. He has that speech in last episode where he's like, "Listen, I did what you hired me to. You made me into what I am, you know. So I don't know. We do, obviously we're going to see more of him. Where, I have no idea. The big shocking revelation, and it's not a shocking revelation at all, because I think we all guessed this after the second episode, that Sharon is in fact the power broker.
Well, you pretty much knew that last episode when she released Batroc from prison.
Bedrock.
It sounds like a French rapper.
Yeah, but then
actually.
he gets shot.
Yeah,
that can't be the end of that guy.
And then Sharon shoots Carly.
Yeah, I don't like this Sharon bad guy thing. I still think that there's more going on. We'll get to the end of this and then we'll talk. And I think it ties in with our opening news item. Sam's got some serious moves going on here in these fight sequences.
In full command of the shield and the wings.
Yeah, but you're right. Sharon shoots Carly after Sharon gets shot. And I would have liked to see Carly have some kind of a redemptive story arc, because she dies. And then we got a very, very preachy Captain America. This brings everything to a screeching halt, but I think it's needed in the context of what they're trying to do with Isaiah Bradley.
You got that line from Isaiah earlier on, like that no self-respecting black man would take up the shield. Yeah. So Sam needs that speech in order to justify why.
And
he's
even Carly,
doing
when Carly first sees him in the suit, she's like, you fell right into the bullshit. You fell for it. And he's like, yeah. So I think he does need to justify, but everything that's been leading up to here is proving to us that Sam is the right person for this role.
Yeah. And you knew that from the beginning.
I know, but he needs to.
That the show in a way was only like a kind of a delay of the inevitable. That Sam was always going to get the shield, but he had to go through these machinations, and you have to introduce the character of John Walker somehow, because obviously, as we see during the end credits scene, is that they're not losing him, that you're going to see him again at some point.
Yep. And I really thought that he was going to come. So we see Contessa Allegra, blah, 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 whatever her name is again. I did not write it down this time, but Julie Louis-Dreyfus's character. Yep. And I was waiting for him to come out as Nomad, but she did name him U.S. agent pretty quick.
Yeah.
So who he'll be working for, I'm not entirely sure, because we still don't really know what this character is, who she is.
Or if this show is going to continue on, because we've already kind of figured that WandaVision was a one and done series.
Well, they immediately announced that Captain America 4 is now happening. We even see it in the end credits. It no longer says Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It's Captain America and the Winter Soldier. He is Captain America. And Captain America 4, I mean, we may not get it for 2 years because there's such a glut of Marvel movies that we need to get through. But yeah, they could easily do a season 2. You know, this is the nice thing about these long format TV shows, is that it gives you time to kind of delve a little bit deeper into some of these characters and their personalities and their motives. I felt this last episode was a little weak compared to what we've seen. And because like everything was kind of wrapped up a little too quick.
Well, that's the thing, is that I think that you had your opening burst of action with the hostages and the flag smashers. I felt it was the opposite, that this was like an extended wrap up, or like an opening for Captain America 4 or the second season. Like they had to tie it all, bring it to a conclusion. So you had to go back to the boat. You had to have Zemo in there. And I think this one world, one people, that's the new Hail Hydra now.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree with you. So were we led to believe that was Zemo's chauffeur who blew up?
Yes.
Okay.
That was like the Alfred of Zemo's Alfred,
because we just get that little scene of Zemo in his cell, somehow listening to a news report, or maybe the news report was just playing over him announcing that these flag smashers have been killed.
And again, it made me think again, why isn't he in Wakanda? Why isn't he in a Wakandan cell? And why did they give him to the raft?
Yeah, that is interesting. That's like, again, just to set up the Thunderbolts, I guess. I don't know. But then Bucky did go back to the old man to tell him that he killed his son. That's a tough conversation right there.
All that closure that we didn't get in Prisoners of the Lost Universe, we got it here.
Yeah, and then Sam goes back to Isaiah. When did he have time to commission this statue? He just seems like yesterday he found out that Isaiah even existed.
Obviously, you don't get to read whatever is written there, but I think that it's like a memorial almost, because the character of Isaiah Bradley, by all intents and purposes, is dead. That's how he exists in society today.
But I wanted to see like either footage or pictures of him as the Captain America,
because we're assuming that he went on missions for the government before he ended up in prison. So he could have his own series by himself.
Yeah, no, I want to see that series.
Yeah.
I think that, they're doing a damn good job of building that character and establishing that backstory. You want to see it, and who knows, maybe that would be the second season.
So it was a nice nod to like Isaiah maybe having now an acceptance of what Sam has decided to do.
Yes, yeah, I agree. And then we get the nice little party scene at the end. I guess we got our loan. Otherwise, you're spending a lot of money on a party when you can't even fix your boat.
Or maybe Wakanda offered, some bank in Wakanda offered the loan.
That'd be great if they just had like a Wakanda ship.
So not only did he get a suit, but there's like cash in the suitcase as well for the boat. Oh, this is for the boat.
So yeah, everything kind of gets wrapped up in a nice, neat package. And then Sharon Carter, who I thought was on trial, gets a full pardon and offered a job again back in S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't exist. So where is she? Where he said her old department, because S.H.I.E.L.D., as far as we know, does not exist. Maybe Sword could be. But then we realized pretty quickly that she's playing both sides, and whoever she's talking to on the phone, that they now have access to multiple military secrets and potential things to sell.
She is still completely disgruntled. She has not become gruntled. She is disgruntled.
Disgruntled. So they didn't really vet her. They didn't like set her down and be like, listen, what have you been doing the last 6 years,
Yeah.
In Madripoor. I still think that she might be a Skrull.
You think so?
I don't know what's going on. You spitball this crap. I will tell you, and I didn't bring this up because I know you don't like watching trailers, but Shang-Chi trailer dropped, and the 10 Rings or whatever that is. And I was watching one of these YouTube videos where the guy like completely breaks this down. I mean, and there's a lot going on in this trailer I don't want to get into, but he does point out, the Mandarin, we know for a fact the Mandarin is
the real Mandarin.
Yes, the correct. Yeah. The real Mandarin is his father. And I say Shang-Chi because that's how Kevin Feige pronounced it when he introduced this. I've always called it Shang-Chi, but apparently I'm an idiot. So it's Shang-Chi. But there's a scene where it's clearly that they're in Madripoor. So this guy was speculating that the Mandarin could very well be the power broker, but that didn't pan out at all.
You can tell me, is Ben Kingsley in this trailer?
He is not in the trailer, but I'm hoping like hell that character gets brought back in at some point. But there is mention, and it's only in the theme song that's playing about them releasing the dragon. So there's big speculation that we're going to see Fing Fang Foom.
Ooh.
Which I immediately was like, oh, I might need to buy a Fing Fang Foom comic book. And then I looked up the prices. Yeah, no. Mortgage or comic.
They're probably anticipating this as well, whoever's selling those issues.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's all the comic market is just ridiculous. It's all speculation at this point. Overall, the entire series I thought was very well done. Little preachy in moments, but listen, it is the world we live in now, and this is the character, So that brings us to our next series, which would be Loki, and I think that this is going to be a lot of fun. I haven't even watched the trailer for this yet, but just based on my limited knowledge of what's on the trailer and what there's talk of them pulling off, could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I'm really hoping that it leads to reestablishing of this character in the greater MCU rather than like as a goodbye. Because that it's not the Loki that was killed by Thanos, that this is the Loki that was the villain of the first Avengers.
At the end of Avengers,
that escaped with the Tesseract. And talk about, your most hated MacGuffin of all time, that I'm sure that the Tesseract is going to loom large in this series.
So there you go. That was a lot to unpack this week.
Yeah, look at the time. We are. At least we didn't spend an hour on Prisoners of the Lost Universe. I don't think we could have. I don't think 40
that was
minutes
possible.
On Bigfoot,
though. Yeah. But yes. So this leads us.
Let's talk about next week. I'm very excited about
this. Is interesting because I don't know anything about this movie.
Chaos Walking. Yeah, I have no excitement over this. Let me clarify.
Well, but just from your limited description of this movie, because it has Daisy Ridley and Tom Holland, two well-established Star Wars and Marvel actors in this movie, and it sounds like he's an alien. Is that what you're implying? That he's from another planet?
That it was like, I don't know if it was Earth or not, but it said the description of the plot, and this is in its barest, like a one-sentence thing, that this character that's played by Tom Holland finds out secrets about himself and his planet, which are brought to you by the character played by Daisy Ridley. So it sounds like a very Matrixy kind of Neo setup going on just from that one sentence.
Interesting. All right. Well, I guess we'll find out because we're watching it next week.
And we're not pairing it with a Matrix, by the way. You'd think that we would, but no.
The Matrix needs its own little standalone, which is, again, bizarre. 300 plus movies in.
We haven't done the Matrix. Yeah.
No.
So we were trying to think, okay, maybe like an alternate reality kind of co-feature.
And then we just went off the rails.
We went completely off the rails. We are covering, with Chaos Walking, we are covering the theatrical release 1970s Puffin Stuff.
Now, what is that about, Jim?
Now, anybody that is of a certain age, around the age that we are or older, I don't know how many of you would be listening to this show, but may remember the Sid and Marty Krofft TV show Puffin Stuff, which was the adventures of a little boy, Jimmy, and his magical flute, Freddie, that he always kept in his pocket. Is that a magical flute, or are you just happy to see me?
I don't know, but the witch wants it.
The Witchy Poo wants it, and he is transported via the evil boat of Witchy Poo because she's trying to get her hands on this flute.
Always loved that boat when it turns evil. Yeah, that's a cool prop.
He is transported away to Living Island. So Witchy Poo, during the course of the series, is also on Living Island and trying to get Freddy by whatever means necessary. And Jimmy is aided and abetted by the residents of the island who hate the witch, led by the Mayor Puffinstuff, who is a dragon but looks like Mayor McCheese, pretty much.
Yes, and we'll get into that because I think there was lawsuits.
So after the series ended, and the series only ran for one season. And I think it was like
that's crazy.
17 episodes, maybe.
Wow. Which is also available on Tubi, by the way.
Right.
Both of these, the TV series and the movie, are both on Tubi.
So the show was such a success in 1969 on Saturday mornings that they decided to make a movie out of it.
Now, do you think I'm going to need to watch the series first so I understand the movie?
No, because, the movie is almost like a remake of the series. The opening of the movie is the opening of every TV show, of Jimmy getting on the boat and going to Living Island.
What did Witchy Poo do before the Jimmy showed up?
I guess she just terrorized the residents, and she was happy doing that.
And then she saw that shiny flute.
Until she became obsessed with the shiny flute.
All right, I am intrigued, and I hope that anybody listening to this as well. And hopefully any of these things that we're throwing out there, people are like, oh, I remember that. I love that show. So do we. And we'll be talking about it. All right, that was fun. I guess shoot me so I can relive my day.
Yeah, let's re-record this from this point on.
Good.
I don't think we did enough justice to Prisoners of the Lost Universe.
Hopefully it'll be funny the next go around. We can fix all of our gaffes.
Yes. Yeah. We'll actually have jokes that you'll laugh at.
Go watch the riff tracks.
Yeah.
All right, kids. Thanks for listening. See you.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Hello, everybody. If you liked the podcast you just heard, then please follow TMI on all of our social media outlets. First and foremost, email us at tmipodcast2018@gmail.com. That is tmipodcast2018@gmail.com.
And you can follow us on Twitter at TMI_podcast2018. Stop over, say hi, give us a compliment. We'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. Make sure you follow us on Instagram as well, which is also TMI_podcast2018.
And of course, we are on Facebook, facebook.com/TMI TMI Podcast 2018. And it should be noted, we also have a community page, so join the forum.
And if you like to watch YouTube, you can see us at TMI Podcast 2018, all one word. Look for the popcorn bucket.
Popcorn bucket. Or you could just go to our website, which has every link there, tmiconfessionalspodcast.com. And we'll see you at the concession stand.
We'll save some popcorn for you.
Where's my J Squad? The Louvre.